role. You're going to be president.
So speaking of theater, I just hesitate even to ask this, but because it just opens up all this stuff I don't want to deal with. But you just interviewed Nick Fuentes.
I did.
Or had a conversation with him. What did you think of that? What do you think of him?
I mean, I can tell you my experience was entirely fraudulent with him. I never interview people as a gotcha interview. It's always just that he was making the rounds. He's been around for a while, and kind of his story, when I learned it, because he was banned from everywhere, so I didn't actually know what the backstory was with Nick Fuentes, but then I learned it when he was allowed back on X, and Jeremy Boring, who was then the CEO of Daily Wire, did this X Live with him. And
Jeremy Boring did an event with Nick Fuentes?
It was weird. Everything was weird about what happened, but it happened. And Nick told his story, and I was listening in, and said essentially that he was canceled because he started asking questions about Israel. He was 18 years old, and he alleged that it was, very much the fault of the Daily Wire or whatever he said. And I found it to be very interesting. And I was like, oh, I actually didn't know this was the backstory. Maybe this really is a person who had, just ahead of everybody else, was questioning Israel and had like a bad hand given to him. So I had him on the show, welcomed him into my home, and he was very nice. We told him, we're going to cut a controversial trailer. We're going to show you like these clips of you talking trash about me, and you can talk about whatever you want for as long as you want. Ask any questions you want to ask. It went great. He left. He said, thanks. We can now be friends. And I am not kidding. We published this 11 days later, and I don't even know how to, he just starts screaming, calling me an effing bitch, who set him up. We didn't edit a single thing. Those 11 days, like 2 weeks before we even published the interview, we told him if there's anything that he wanted us to insert. Like, nobody does that if you go on their show.
Yes.
And I genuinely don't know what triggered him, other than me at the very end asking him about or talking to him about family. And it was just the rage that was coming out of him was just weird. And I don't know why he did that. I don't know why he did a 180. You had access to me. You could have said anything after. Even if he had said in good faith, I thought I sounded a little weird here, could you cut it out? We probably would have cut it out, because I just don't want people to ever not have a good experience coming on our show.
That.
You know what I'm saying?
And also, you want people, I'll speak for myself. When I invite someone on, especially just to hear their views, I want them to be able to express what they actually think.
Right. Exactly.
And you decide what you think, and you decide how to express it. I mean, that's like a basic human right, kind of.
Yeah.
And so I'm not here to trip you up into saying something you don't mean. I want to hear what you do mean.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So,
and he told the story. He did all of that. And apparently then, and I don't know if it was driven by insecurity. He didn't know how his followers would take the interview, but he just did a complete 180, lied to his audience, pretended that he was surprised it was behind a paywall. We spoke about him and how we were going to release it. He said, great. I mean, it's a total 180 flip. So I can now say that I didn't listen to other people say that Nick was a bad person. I didn't care about what happened when he was 18, 19, 20, 26. I sat across from a person, had a conversation with him. He behaved one way in person and then put on a show for the internet. So I actually can say my experience with Nick Fuentes is that he's a terrible person and a terrible human being, because why would you do that? There's no reason to do that.
I agree.
You could have come back onto the show. You could have had beginning of us discussing various topics. I think in many ways, whatever happened to him when he was 18 may have stunted his growth, meaning that he now is responding to the internet, which is filled with people that don't even use their real names. Right? So really, truly, the irony of it all is you could just be like the IDF soldiers, just pretending to be his supporters and just getting him to say whatever you want because he's going to do whatever you say. But it was strange. It was totally strange. It made no sense. And
Does he have a family or a normal life?
I asked him about that. He said, yeah, it comes from a 2-parent household. That's what he told me.
No. Does he have his own family? Does he?
No, he's not married. And I just offered to him, I was like, I think these are things that you learn when you're married. And he just was vicious about it. And,
about
women
what?
Don't tell me what to do or whatever it was. And it was very performative. Like I said the exact same thing to Andrew Tate months earlier. I had him and I said, you should get married. Here's why. And of course, Andrew Tate did not react like that. He told me what his hangups were about marriage. It was just a part of two people communicating on a show. But for whatever reason, he saw this as like an attack, even though.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was weird. It was totally weird.
Tender spot. Well, okay. Has it occurred to you that, and I just want to say, I haven't watched a lot of Nick Fuentes in my life at all. But what I've seen, the guy's very talented. Like just as a, well, let me just say this, as someone who's talked to cameras his whole life, it is very hard to sit and just like riff for 20 minutes. And I think it's an amazing skill, and he has that skill. But I also have noticed that his targets are all people who are sincere, non-crazy, non-hateful opponents of neocon politics.
Right.
So you have to kind of wonder about that. So Nick Fuentes is like, oh, I don't like the neocons. But then his targets are J.D. Vance, Joe Kent. He got involved in Joe Kent's campaign with a super, oh yes. You, me. And it's like, what is that?
Dave Smith.
I
asked him about that because that's a question that I had. So I did the right thing by asking him to his face. What's up with this? Like, why do you attack Dave Smith? You say that like your biggest critique is that America's being controlled by Israel. Then you have Dave Smith, who has been such a sound voice. And by the way, opposite experience with Dave Smith. I have my podcast. He's a fantastic human being.
Dave Smith is one of the nicest people
fantastic
ever.
Human.
Yes.
And so I judge people according to my experiences with them. And so Nick is being judged according to my experience with him.
But like, what is this?
I don't get
Where
it.
does
I don't
the funding come from? I probably shouldn't even say this, but the only reason I know who he is because someone sent me a video a few years ago of him attacking me. And I was like, so I'm looking at this. And I'm like, well, first of all, this kid's really talented, like legit. And I can assess that just having done the job for so long. So I was like, wow, lots of talent, native talent. And he's attacking my dad as a CIA, his dad's in the CIA or whatever. And I'm like, well, that's no, untrue. Then my father dies and I learn actually, was involved in that world. I was completely shocked by it. So no one has to believe me, but that's just a fact.
Right.
This was in March of this year. And I'm like, well, how the hell would this child from Chicago, my dad was 84 when he passed. Like, who does this guy know who my dad is? And like, he's in intelligence. How would he know that? And I
so that was his critique of you because I didn't see it.
Someone just sent me this video and it was like, you can't believe anything Carlson says because his father was in the CIA and he's a CIA working on behalf of the CIA. Well, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious, and I actually feel emotional in my anger towards CIA. And I think that comes out on the air quite regularly.
Right.
And so the idea that I'm working for the CIA is like deranged.
Well, if it helps, he said I'm funded by Russia now. Since the interview, he then did a thing and said I was funded by Russia.
But you would be a lot more likely to take Russian money than I would be to work for the CIA because you would never take Russian money and you're not Russian. But I mean, I really hate the CIA. And I mean, that's like very offensive to me. So why would you?
It's like personal for you.
Well, a little bit.
Yeah.
And anyway, like, who is this kid exactly?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's just an accident that the guy exclusively goes after people who are in roughly the same. And then he gets up there and he's like, making Holocaust jokes. And it's like, is it possible that this is like David Duke? And David Duke, every time I had a new show, David Duke would endorse my show. I don't know, who the hell is David Duke? Well, David Duke is obviously part of a campaign to discredit people on the right, obviously. And I think it's very obvious that Nick Fuentes is exactly the same. Doesn't mean everything he says is false. It doesn't mean he's not talented. He's enormously talented. Doesn't mean he's a bad person. I'm not attacking him personally, but he is clearly part of a campaign to discredit non-crazy right voices. That's obvious to me. I've been around a long time. I know it when I see it.
Yeah. And I will say, I don't understand it. We were very kind to him. Like, I truly, like, we almost said, like, we felt maybe he was a bit lonely. We should invite him back for dinner. I mean, that's how good of an experience I had.
Clearly it's
and then it was a 180. So it's either A, it's being driven from like a little boy insecurity. And he just was so worried that he like just went on the attack because he doesn't know how to have normal relations after being banned everywhere.
Well, I think there's that could
be one element.
The angry gay kid thing going on. Yeah.
Or it's what you're saying, where he does this, he's lying to everybody and pretending that things are one way when it's not. I can say
why is he attacking Joe Kent, who, Joe Kent worked as a CIA contractor, paramilitary contractor. He was in the U.S. military for years fighting our neocon wars. And his wife was killed in Syria in one of those wars. Joe Kent is the single most sincere critic, and I would say the one with the most credibility in the United States to say this foreign policy is bad. It killed my wife. I was a part of it. Joe Kent is actually someone the CIA doesn't like at all because he understands how it operates. And for Nick Fuentes, who's like some child from Chicago, to go after him specifically, one congressional seat in Washington State.
That is random.
It's not random, though. It's the opposite of random. Joe Kent was number one on the list of people they wanted to knock off, people who believe in our neocon foreign policy. They wanted Joe Kent out because he could stand up and say, I actually know. I've got the receipts. My wife was killed in Syria. You had to take that guy out. And Nick Fuentes, this child, this weird little gay kid in his basement in Chicago, is participating in a super PAC to bump off Joe Kent. Like, I've been around this my whole life. I know what that is. It's just an organized effort.
Yeah.
And he also did the thing that David Duke always did, including to me, which is be like, oh, yeah, it's my friend. And everyone's like, oh, Tucker Carlson's been endorsed by David Duke. I've been making like the anti-racist argument my whole life.
Right.
Like, I'm not for David Duke. Do I think David Duke is right when he's against affirmative action? You bet I do. But I'm not for David Duke. But David Duke would try to discredit people by hugging them. And that's exactly what Fuentes did. He goes out there and meet all these people. Show up, hi, I'm Nick Fuentes. Can I get my picture with you? That's a campaign to destroy credible voices on the right. And Fuentes is part of it. And I know I'm inviting endless trouble by saying this because, this is a kid with a lot of spare time, but it's just a fact. And I've seen it a lot.
Yeah.
And I you can believe me or not, but I know what I'm talking about.
I can confirm he's dishonest. I mean, so it's like you use that as your, like, I could not determine what his motives were. And I said, you know what? I don't have time for this. I gave you a fair chance, gave you a fair shake, and you are a fundamentally dishonest human being. There was no reason to do it. If he had not done that show and screamed and yelled, his followers would have been like, oh, that was an interesting conversation between two people who agreed some, disagreed some, and like that was it. It was interesting that he got there. He doesn't want to be, and I can tell you that he doesn't want to be anywhere but where he is. He doesn't want to have normal relations. And it did sort of feel, and I said that to him, that he's like responding to orders somewhere because why are you attacking me?
Well,
why are you attacking Dave Smith? What is the issue with Dave Smith? And he couldn't answer the question.
Exactly.
He couldn't answer the question. He was just like, well,
the fakest thing I've ever seen.
And I'm like, well, why do you hate Dave Smith over Joe Rogan? And it's like, well, Dave Smith is this kind of a Jew. And I'm like, okay, I don't either. You really are this immature and you haven't gotten further in your ideas, or you're just attacking people and making people think that these attacks are legitimate when they're really not. And we were so kind to him that I was just like, okay.
He's attacking Dave Smith because Dave Smith is effective and credible.
He's very effective.
Because he's smart. He's a decent person. There's no hate on Dave Smith. And you would smell it if there was and there isn't. And he has credibility and he has knowledge. And he's a marvelous debater. And once again, a really good person. So you have to take out Dave Smith. You have to take out Joe Kent. Those are the good people. You have to take out J.D. Vance. He was against J.D. Vance. So if you're against like more pointless wars on behalf of foreign powers, like you're probably not going to be attacking J.D. Vance. And Vance was exactly the person he was attacking. So and the sad thing is, and I know that no one who watches him will believe me because they're desperate, because they are the victims of a system that hates him. It's young white men who've been totally cut out of our economy, attacked mercilessly, given, narcotics, just go die. I mean, they really are the victims and they're desperate and no one speaks for them. So they go to Fuentes because he's like incredibly articulate and they think he's our leader. But in one of the saddest ironies of all, like he's acting against your interests, actually. It's really dark.
Yeah, I don't believe he says, I no longer think that he believes what he says. And I can say that, like, even the whole, I just say I'm a racist. I know in part he says stuff to be entertaining, and that's fine. There's an element of it that is meant to be entertaining. But you got on a flight to come down onto a podcast with a black woman. Like, I don't think you're racist. I don't believe your ideas that women, he's like, women need to shut up. It's like, okay, why are you on my podcast? Why are you saying that you want people to have you on their podcasts? So there's a gap between what he says and how he acts. And for me, that's just worthy of dismissing, full stop. Be authentic. I don't care who you are. Like, genuinely, I kind of like Taylor Lorenz because I know that she actually believes.
Yeah, boy. Can a nigga live? Can a nigga live? Please. This country sucks. You can come here, you can eat cats, you can eat people, you can drive your car into a store, a stolen car, gang killings everywhere all the time. Can a nigga stream a little reaction to the major party convention? Can I sell a hat? Seriously. I mean, it's getting a little ridiculous. Can a nigga breathe? I can't breathe. Ben Shapiro, I can't breathe. Take your boot off my neck. Let a nigga breathe. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. I go on Fresh and Fit. They get demonetized. I go on Sneeko. He can't find a manager. I try to sell. I'm banned from payment processing. I stream the convention. You're banned from streaming the convention. Candace Owens goes full red pill, but she can't have me on because of YouTube, which we'll talk about. Can a nigga, it's like, sometimes I wake up and I'm like, I do a show. You do realize this is a talk show, right? It's a talk show. Some days I wake up, I feel like Al Capone. I do a talk show. I'm not that tall. I'm not tall. I've never been in a fight. I've never touched drugs or alcohol. And I'm like the most wanted man in America. The walls are closing in on me with the DMCAs, the credit card stuff. What the heck? Rumble and X are on the chopping block. Durav got arrested. Ugh. To be a nigga in America, I'm America's nigga. Seriously. I'm the American nigga. That's who I am now. Coming through the back door, nigga. Coming through the back door, America's nigga. You can't be seen around here. You're on the wrong side of the tracks, nigga. That's how I feel all the time.